The news that the New Orleans Pelicans are reportedly exploring trade options for Zion Williamson is the reality that has shattered the basketball world's expectations. While fans see Zion as a generational physical force and an all-star when healthy, the internal industry view is that of a franchise reaching its absolute breaking point. The public often believes that a player of Zion's gravity, a man once hailed as the heir to LeBron James, would be given an infinite leash in a small market like New Orleans. However, a series of late 2024 and early 2025 incidents, including a shocking pivot to a bench role and fresh off-court viral scandals, suggest that the Pelicans' leadership is finally exhausted. We are going to dig into the internal team memos, the financial receipts of his complex, non-guaranteed contract, and the specific reasons why the front office believes they can no longer build a culture around him. By the end of this video, we will answer 3 critical questions. Why did the Pelicans suddenly start bringing their franchise star off the bench? How does the FBI's investigation into NBA insider information impact the trade market for an unpredictable asset like Zion? And what does the giant red flag regarding his 2026-2027 contract guarantees mean for his future in the league? Per the reporting from league insiders on January 9, 2026, the narrative that the Pelicans are just managing his load has been debunked. The reality is far more damning. According to sources within the organization, the Pelicans have informed other teams that Zion, along with veterans like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, is essentially available for the right price as the team pivots toward a rebuild around younger assets like Derik Queen and Jeremiah Fears. The plan today is to break down the timeline of this collapse and show you how the Zion project in New Orleans has officially entered its final chapter. We have to look at the numbers. Zion is earning $39.4 million this season, yet the Pelicans are currently sitting at a dismal 7-22. In a world of cold, hard business, paying nearly $40 million for a star who leads you to the bottom of the standings is a receipt the front office can no longer ignore. The second most shocking point in this investigation involves Zion's transition to a bench role. On December 14, 2025, in a game against the Chicago Bulls, Zion Williamson came off the bench for the first time in his 225-game career. While the team tried to spin this as a strategic depth move, the industry view was much harsher. Analysts noted that this was a soft benching, a clear sign that interim head coach James Borrego no longer trusts Zion to lead the starting 5. The financial payout here is the realization that New Orleans is paying supermax money for a sixth-man production. This disparity has created a massive rift in the locker room, as younger, more available players like Jeremiah Fears are reportedly frustrated by the double standards applied to the former #1 overall pick. When your franchise player is making 21 times the salary of your starting point guard, but cannot stay on the floor for more than 24 minutes a night, the culture begins to rot from the inside out. The #1 most shocking revelation is the guaranteed money trap hidden in Zion's contract. According to front office insiders, Zion's contract for the 2025-2026 season only became fully guaranteed on July 15, 2025, because he met certain games played criteria in the previous year. However, the path forward is a minefield. For the 2026-2027 season, only 20% of his $42 million salary is currently guaranteed. To re-guarantee that money, Zion must hit a specific series of weights and games played benchmarks: 40% for 41 games, 60% for 51 games, and 80% for 61 games. The final 20% is tied purely to his weigh-in benchmarks. This has created a giant red flag for potential trade partners. While a desperate team like the Chicago Bulls might gamble on his talent, the conditional nature of his contract actually makes him harder to move, as it signals to the entire league that even his own team doesn't believe he's a long-term safe bet. Following that, we have to look at the federal indictment ripple effect. On October 23, 2025, the NBA was rocked by the arrests of Terry Rozier and coach Chauncey Billups in connection with a federal investigation into illegal sports betting and insider information. While Zion Williamson has not been accused of any wrongdoing, the NBA's new zero-tolerance policy for unreliable medical reporting has made his constant questionable status a massive headache. The FBI's investigation specifically looked at players who tipped off associates about their intention to leave games early or sit out due to purported injuries. In an era where the NBA is under intense scrutiny regarding player conduct and confidential info leaks, a superstar who is constantly a mystery to his own training staff becomes a liability that outweighs his dunks. The NBA's leadership is tired of the constant distractions that have nothing to do with basketball, and the risk of a conduct detrimental investigation is something no small market team can afford to navigate. The fifth body point explores the Derik Queen factor. The Pelicans recently acquired Derik Queen, a young center who has been compared to Nikola Jokic. Queen's immediate impact, averaging 23 points and 8 rebounds in late 2025, has convinced the front office that they can run a modern, efficient offense without the ball-dominant gravity of Zion. According to a Sports Illustrated report from November 2025, the Pelicans must embrace the Fears Queen era and move on from the past. The team is realizing that they can get 70% of Zion's production at 5% of the cost by leaning into their rookie class. The receipts of the 2026 season show that the Pelicans actually play with more pace and space when Zion is off the floor. Queen's ability to initiate the offense from the high post has made Zion's rim-running style look antiquated in James Borrego's system. The sixth point addresses the trade market reality check. While fans on social media suggest blockbuster trades to the Knicks or Lakers, the industry reality is that Zion's trade value has plummeted. According to league insiders, the Bulls are scouting the Pelicans as a buy low candidate, hoping Zion could be the next distressed asset they can rehabilitate like Josh Giddey or Isaac Okoro. However, the Pelicans are finding that other GMs are wary of taking on damaged goods that carry a $40 million price tag. The payout for New Orleans is the realization that they waited too long to sell high. They are now stuck in a trade cold war, where they are trying to convince the league Zion is still a star, while their own coaching staff is playing him behind Jeremiah Fears and Derik Queen. The seventh point focuses on the January collapse. As of January 10, 2026, the Pelicans are 31 games into the season and own one of the worst records in the Western Conference. What makes this even more disastrous is that they don't own their first-round pick in 2026. It belongs to the Atlanta Hawks. This means the Pelicans can't even tank for a high draft pick to save their season. They are trapped in a no-man's land where their superstar is on the bench and their future is in another team's hands. The financial receipts from this season show a team that is paying into the luxury tax for a lottery-bound roster. This is a total failure of management that has led to calls for Joe Dumars and the front office to be held accountable. The eighth point addresses Zion's personal isolation. According to locker room reports from December 2025, Zion has become increasingly distant from his teammates during this losing streak. While he was once the jovial center of the group, he now reportedly leaves the arena immediately after games and avoids team functions. This emotional detachment is often the precursor to a trade request. Per industry insiders, Zion's camp has already begun back-channeling to teams like the Charlotte Hornets, looking for a return to his North Carolina roots, where he might find a more supportive environment. The giant red flag here is that if Zion isn't happy in a city that built its entire identity around him, where will he be happy? Finally, we look at the February 5, 2026 trade deadline, with reports from Chris Haynes suggesting that the Pelicans are currently rebuffing calls on Zion. The industry believes this is a leverage play. By claiming they want to keep him, they are artificially inflating a market that has gone cold. However, the internal memos suggest that the divorce is inevitable. Whether it happens in the next few weeks or during the 2026 offseason, the Zion era in New Orleans is functionally over. The cost of his mistakes isn't just the missed games or the fines, it's the total collapse of a franchise's hope and the unanswered questions of a decade of rebuilding. In summary, the fall of Zion Williamson in New Orleans is a masterclass in how unavailability and unpredictability can destroy even the most talented player's career. We've seen the receipts of the benching, the timeline of the contract red flags, the impact of the FBI gambling crackdown, and the chilling reality that the Pelicans have already found his replacement in Derik Queen. This isn't just about a player who can't stay healthy, it's about a team that has finally decided that the weight of the drama is too much to carry. The insider takeaway is that in the 2026 NBA, being a force of nature doesn't matter if you're not a force of consistency. The Pelicans are ready to turn the page, and the only question left is which team is brave or desperate enough to take the next chapter.
If you want to understand how the business of superstar management really works and why certain franchises are doomed to repeat their mistakes, you need to see the full picture. For more on the hidden secrets and power plays of the basketball industry, you need to check out our Court Vision Rope Industry Secrets playlist. It's the essential next step to understanding the game behind the game.